And welcome to another season of Conversations at the Effie. Here we are situated on the unceded territory at Kamloops at the Effie Arts Collective. I'm your host, Aaron Shufletoski, and with me today is the passionate igniter of Riversong Guitars, Mike Miltimore. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's really surreal to be in this building because as a young child, I used to come here with my dad when there was bands and events here all the time.
So you're a Kamloops born and raised kid?
I was born and raised, and I left Kamloops for a few years in high school. Went to high school in Vernon and got the bad rap there, and then came back as a golden boy here in Kamloops.
Describe what Kamloops looked like as a kid.
Well, you know what Kamloops is? There's no place like home, no place like Kamloops. I lived in a few different spots, mostly downtown. But when I lived downtown, we were on West Seymour Street, the old part of Kamloops. And my newspaper route used to be the police station, which is where City Hall is now, the courthouse, the old courthouse, which was the courthouse then. And I'd go all up and down St. Paul Street, and that whole grasslands area between Lower Saheli and Seymour Street, that was my playground. And I'd go and climb in and out of what I called the creek, which I've learned later on in life is the runoff from the storm drains. Yeah, I just love that area.
Your family's very music oriented.
Yeah, my dad started off in the music scene here in Kamloops by being an electronic technician. And him and his brother had a company called Miltronics. So they would repair musical instruments and come and do sound in clubs like this one back in the day, and they'd repair things. So that's where they started. My family, my grandfather was actually a PhD geneticist at the research farm here in Kamloops, and that's where they all lived, was actually on the research farm by the airport.
Out by Tranquil.
Yeah.
So that's amazing that it's gone from a scientist into a musician. It seems to be quite opposite ends of the spectrum, but
yeah,
music's a lot of math, isn't it?
You know, music is a lot of math. To be fair, Miltimores aren't known for our amazing musical abilities. We're more known for our technical abilities. We like to know the inside out of things. So, you know, when it comes to electronics, that's why my dad became an electronic technician. I went to school for electronic engineering technology, and I really wanted to follow those same footprints that my dad had. But really got really into audio and visual, and we opened a music store, and yeah, and it is very much math. You're right.
So you're actually not so much the front end of music, you're the back end. You might be behind the scenes.
I feel like if I was a better musician, instead of being a sound engineer or a guitar builder, I'd actually be playing. Yeah.
So do you play at all?
Yeah, I'm the lead drummer in an 80s rock band, plays mostly 90s music called Spandex. You're going to have Matt Stanley, who's the bassist in Spandex, is going to be in your club here later on. But yeah, I play drums, I play guitar, bass, a little bit of everything.
Your Riversong Guitars is just getting bigger and bigger. You've won many awards. You've won local awards. You've won a worldwide award. You want to describe your latest award that you won?
The latest one's a pretty big one. We got nominated last year for 4 awards from MMR Magazine, which is Music Merchandise Review Magazine. And Music Merchandise Review Magazine has been around since 1879. And it basically is the voice of the industry. So for music stores, for sound companies, for saxophone people, you know, like that is where everybody looks to see what the trends are in the music industry. And they do things like take track of exports and imports and what's hot selling, you know, guitars are big this year, that kind of a thing. So they also have a thing called the DCA Awards, the Dealer Choice Awards. And the DCAs have been around for 30 years. I remember as a teenager coming into the music store, and my dad and I would open up the magazine. He'd wait for me to get back from the shop. We'd open up the magazine together and look for the list of the nominees and vote or look for the finalists and see if those brands were the brands we were carrying in our music store. And fast forward 30 years from those days, to be nominated for 4 awards was huge. So we got nominated for Acoustic Guitar of the Year, Product of the Year, Electric Guitar of the Year, and Ukulele of the Year. And it's from Canada, the ukulele. Anyways, 4 major awards. And then we got shortlisted to the top 4 in all those categories worldwide. And then all the dealers and subscribers of the magazine, you have to be a subscriber to vote, voted on their favorite product. And we won it for Acoustic Guitar of the Year, for this guitar right here, actually.
Is there something more special you think about winning a Chamber of Commerce award, where it's like your friends and the people in your community that give you an award?
I have long said that the Kamloops Chamber of Commerce has really helped us out a lot. We won a bunch of different awards with the Chamber: service provider, young entrepreneur, business person, retailer of the year, a bunch of those awards. And those are all stepping stones to help you get into other awards or to get into the eye of a Canadian kind of a audience, or getting into the US. So we actually leveraged the Chamber of Commerce awards that we won, which mean a lot because that's somebody in your community that kind of knows you. It's like your brother or sister going, yeah, Aaron, he deserves an award. They know you, and so that means a lot. But we leveraged those awards to actually, I got runner-up for Canada for Young Entrepreneur of the Year from the BDC, Business Development Bank. And if you watch that early video, you'll see I showcase the Chamber of Commerce Awards, because that's what's going on in your own community.
So really the community did build you up into national or global.
Yeah. Absolutely. Kamloops community has come around and really supported my dream. As a sound engineer, like Music in the Park was a dream of Henry Smalls and the Arts Council and the City of Kamloops and BCLC. And then when we got involved, we ramped it up, and that's been like a really big community thing. So that's everybody's gathered around that. When we started doing guitars, we had people coming in, doing tours of the guitar factory, checking out what we were doing, and telling people. And that word of mouth and telling people is what's really helped us grow our company.
And so now that you're getting this global recognition, you're getting bigger and bigger and bigger, will you end up too big for Kamloops?
You know what my dream is with Riversong Guitars? My dream is to build guitars here in Kamloops, from woods around Kamloops, and just keep growing it. In your community, you have things that you can do to help your community. You've got the show here. You've opened the Effie for helping musicians and comedians. That's what you're doing to help the community, and it's fantastic. Some people have money. Some people, are butchers, and they're going to help out with the food bank. I don't know. My secret ability is guitars and music, and I can share that to help my community. So one of the things that we did with Riversong this year was we partnered with the TNRL, which is the library of the TNRD, and we made it so that guitars were accessible, high quality Riversong guitars accessible to anybody in the community with just a library card. And that was such a hugely successful program. We've just now added another 30 instruments and added ukuleles.
What's the difference between a ukulele and a guitar in the design?
There's a huge difference between a ukulele and a guitar in the design. The difference is the string tension. On an acoustic guitar, steel string like this, you have 180 pounds, about 30 pounds per string, trying to fold the guitar in half, okay? So you have to brace it appropriately so that it can resonate and vibrate properly. Versus a ukulele uses 3 nylon strings or nylon core strings, and there's so much less tension. So you almost don't need any bracing at all in the ukulele itself. So it's quite a different design. It's a smaller body. It's a shorter scale length. So it just makes for a much nicer, easier playing instrument. And I call it the social instrument because, you sit there and you talk, you play a little bit, you talk a little more, you play, talk more. That's what you do with ukulele. And when I travel with the ukulele or with the guitars, people look at you and they try to figure out who you are as you're walking through an airport. If you have a ukulele, people come up to you and actually talk to you. Hey, you play ukulele. I play ukulele. It's a social instrument. So it's a lot of fun.
Can you take me back to the day that you discovered what you wanted to do with Riversong Guitars, your eureka moment?
So we have the eureka moment, or do you want the moment that we decided to start building guitars?
Was there a time were you sitting there in the shop with your dad one day and said that, I want to make a guitar?
No, that's not how it happened. What happened was, well, of course, my dad and I in the 80s and in the 90s, we would build, they'd take this part and build this guitar and soup this up, and we did a lot of repair work. But when we decided to start actually being really serious and build acoustic guitars, it was 2006. And it was winter time. I took my entire staff up to the Cineplex Theater to see a movie that came out. That movie went straight to cult status. Do you know what movie I'm talking about?
What was it, Wayne's World?
No, very close. Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny. And we watched the entire staff. We went and watched it. There was nobody else in the theater. It was just like a private showing for Lee's Music. And we sat there and we were watching this, and we were blown away by the custom guitars they had in it and just the whole persona of Tenacious D and this whole thing. And we walked literally out of the theater, and I turned to one of the guys that worked for us, and I said, we have to build guitars. And literally we went and saw the movie the next night, and then I went and bought $3,000 worth of shop equipment and materials, and we started building guitars basically that week.
So in the movie, Mike Miltimore, Riversong of Destiny, who will play you, Jack Black or Kyle Gass?
Absolutely Jack Black, although I built a guitar for Kyle Gass.
Does Jack Black know that he's responsible for creating this guitar?
Okay, so I work with a lot of musicians. I've gone backstage as an artist relations manager for Riversong. The NAMM show is always full of all sorts of really amazing musicians. And I usually have my cool about me pretty well. But I was in LA, Hollywood actually, at a guitar center, and I was there talking with the artist relations manager from Guitar Center. And I was checking my guitars in, because you have to check your guitars in and out when you go there. And across the counter from me, because it was lineups on either side, was Jack Black. And what was funny is because the week leading up to that moment, we went to all these different music stores in Southern California. And every music store had like an 8x11 kind of glossy with Tenacious D, and they signed, "You're the best music store ever." Each store had that. And I was like, man, I just love to meet these guys. And then it happened. And I turned into a little schoolgirl, and I couldn't form words. And I just reached into my pocket, and I gave Jack Black everything that was in my pocket, which was a business card, some gum wrappers, some guitar picks that I made. And he took it and he went, "Oh, you're a guitar luthier?" And I went, So yeah, he knows about me, but I don't think my first impression was amazing.
Does your opinion of bands change as soon as they buy a Riversong guitar?
You know what? A little bit. Yeah. I still have my favorite bands. One of my favorite bands of all time, it's going to be crazy, is Extreme. And I got Nuno Betancourt's cell number, and I phoned him up, and he wasn't that excited that I phoned him. But I still love Extreme. But there's a lot of people that have Riversong guitars now. I don't know everybody that has them, and it's always a joy to see somebody pop up on a stage or even send me a note that they're playing in front of their kids around the Christmas tree or something. That means everything to me as a builder and the guy behind Riversong Guitars.
What percentage of Kamloops musicians do you think own a Riversong?
You know what's interesting about that? Obviously, Kamloops punches way above its weight in terms of Riversong owners. there's a lot of people that have Riversong guitars. And there's a lot of people that just support us. When we started, we built 40 guitars, and we numbered them all, 1 through 40. And we get guys coming into the store to this day saying, hey, I'm number 7. So there's a lot of people that have Riversong guitars. There's a lot of people playing on them in the community, and that means a lot to us too. We call them our Riversong family.
So let's go into what you invented for the Riversong.
Sure. So essentially, maybe you can pass me that guitar there. This guitar is part of our studio series. We call it the G2 series. But essentially, there's a common problem with guitars. And the traditional design's been around since 1842, so 180 years. And that traditional design is an X brace on the inside and a glued-on neck. And by having that X brace and that glued-on neck, the body has to both be structured and be free to resonate and vibrate. And by gluing the neck onto the body, there is a problem where the wood underneath the fretboard is different than the wood underneath the neck. So it expands and contracts at a different rate and creates a step in the fretboard from different humidities and makes it so it's difficult to play. So then you have to have higher string height, which is called action, to be able to compensate for that. So knowing all those kind of things, we were trying to build a guitar that was stronger, that didn't need bracing. Essentially, my idea was if I could make a neck that would run all the way through the inside of the body, then the body just basically floats around that neck. I can make it out of anything. And you can see things like this. See how that top is freely floating?
Yep.
Yeah, it basically floats around there. So there's none of that heavy bracing. And by doing that, we discovered a couple things. That the neck running all the way through, this becomes a structure, allowing that body to float freely. But the neck is also solid down to the last fret, so it eliminates that 14th fret hump from happening, but gives us even volume, tone and sustain, all the way up the neck, which was another plus. And by having a modular neck, we can move the neck in and out of the pockets. We can actually get perfect intonation for the first time on your acoustic guitar for your playing style. But the big cool thing was this little set screw right here, and this is what we have the patent on. And it pushes up and down against this slot. And that allowed us to actually change the angle of the neck under full string tension. So for the first time ever, you could actually adjust your string height on your guitar on the fly with just using a little Allen key to turn it one way to lower the action and turn it the other way to raise the action. So that was the fundamental functionality of our guitar that changed. And then we did things like the rib rest bevel and the armrest bevel, which makes it really, really comfortable. And plus a whole bunch of other things, including the bracing on the inside is skeletized. So if you look on the inside, you can see all the holes in the bracing.
Well, we'll definitely have to get a
Close-up
on this one, yeah.
Yeah, that is, in the nutshell, a Riversong guitar. We put a fast electric neck profile on it, and that's one of our studio series. 100% domestic woods. This guitar actually qualifies for Product of Canada, which means that 98% of the material and the cost of that guitar is right from Canada.
I completely understand now your history with your grandfather being at the experimental lab, where this really, was it just trial and error, just putting things together, trying something, or did you develop a plan and
I had an altruistic goal. My goal was to make a braceless guitar. And the reason why I wanted to make a braceless guitar was because the guy that I turned to and said, we need to build guitars. He was a luthier. He knew how to build guitars, and he knew how in 1842, how they made the best acoustic guitar ever, and that's what everybody copies. And I kept looking at it thinking, how am I going to make that guitar? I had limited woodworking experience. I was really into test and measurement with sound equipment. I had an FFT analyzer and crazy test microphones. So I would go around behind the luthier, Mike was his name, and every time he would do something, I would test and measure it. And I'd rate the frequency of the resonant frequency of what he was doing down so that I could analyze what was going on. And over the course of 6 years, I realized that I could put the force of the string tension back into the neck. And then basically I could make a guitar out of a Rubbermaid container if I wanted to. And that was sort of the altruistic goal. And what ended up happening was, along the ways, we realized that we could adjust it for intonation, we could adjust it for neck angle, and we could use less bracing, which would make it sound a lot better.
Who do you think is your biggest artist that you're proud of that's playing a Riversong right now?
You know what? The guys that buy it because they're inspired by it and they're wanting to, they buy it for themselves. That's why I started building guitars. We started building heirloom guitars. Heirloom being, it's a family heirloom. We're going to put your name on here, and you're going to take that. And we used to put like little tags on the inside that said, "This guitar cannot be sold, must be kept in the family. If you receive this guitar, it's a great honor and a gift, and you are the protective ward of this instrument moving forward," right? That's why we started. So my favorite are always those kind of sales. The biggest artists, I think that's subjective. We built a guitar for Paul McCartney back in 2013. Prince William is probably the most famous person that has one of our guitars. A couple years ago we built for him. And they actually gave us a moniker, the royal family. We're fit for royalty, which I thought was kind of cool. But you know, there's a young lady named Priscilla Block who's playing our guitars right now, and she kind of came out of nowhere during the pandemic. She was writing songs on TikTok about life and everyday feelings, and she blew up. And coming out of the pandemic, I think she just won Artist of the Year. So it's like people like that, and we built her a custom guitar that's custom blue sparkle that is the Pantone color of a blue solo cup. Because her last name is Block, she has block parties. You know, I love seeing that guitar being played all over the place. It's been on the Grand Ole Opry, it's been on all over Europe. Like, that's her guitar. And that's this model, which is an affordable model. We do have other guys like Michael Spriggs, who played with, Trace Adkins. They went across America with basically the first version of that guitar. And it ended up on the Queen Latifah show back in the day. And, you know, so guys like that are very cool too.
How are you going to continue the legacy of Riversong through family?
That's like a Willy Wonka question. You know, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Who's going to take over and run Riversong Guitars? I don't have any kids. My kids are my guitar factory. But I do have nieces, and I hope that they get into what I'm doing. One of my nieces, I just gifted her the guitar that my dad gave me when I was 13, my first real guitar. And she's getting into guitar, and I just gifted it to her when she's 13 and told her the story. And I watched her brain melt out of her head when I said, "That's now your guitar." You know, it was that third generation thing. That was super cool. But moving forward with Riversong Guitars, I think we have a long ways to go in terms of growth and building. And I think anybody that comes along and is part of our team and is vested in what we're doing has a chance to work with us and move into the future. You know, Bob Taylor and Kurt Lustig from Taylor Guitars, they actually gifted their entire guitar factory company to their employees. And that seems pretty awesome. They are the ones that helped you build your company. Why not share it like that?
That's amazing. So you talked about how Kamloops, the chamber and the community and stuff has really helped you build up Riversong. What do you think Kamloops needs to provide to keep going?
Provide Riversong?
Yeah. What are you looking for from Kamloops to aid in further growth?
You know, I'm really fiercely proud of Kamloops. I love what we're doing. I think Kamloops has stepped up. For me, my next plan is we're looking for a new building, which is proving challenging right this particular time. So we want to get about a 15,000 square foot building, and we want to staff it and go into a much higher production level. So we're going to be looking for builders and people. But first, I need to find a building. That's my whole world life goal right now, is to either find a lot so we can build something, or find a 15,000 square foot building. So City of Kamloops, they could provide us with something like that.
Or somebody with deep pockets, a big wallet.
Yeah, like a partner or something on a building. Sure, yeah.
What does arts and music give the average citizen?
Music, guitars, any kind of music, really. It could be a thumb piano. Music gives you the ability to zone out, to get into that meditative state, to find kinship, whether it's a song and it's how you're feeling right now. How many times have you listened to something and been like, yeah, that's it? The soundtrack of my life, I remember the first NAMM show that I went to, and I showed my guitars at it. It was amazing because we had our little booth. It was a little 10 by 10 foot booth, and we just had a mob of people around us the entire time. And I walked through, and I had meetings for licensing, and I had meetings for distribution, and Hartley Peavy came up to me and said, "You better have a patent on that." But the soundtrack that was going through my life was Nazareth, Hair of the Dog. Da, 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 right?
Yeah.
That's going through my mind, and I'm walking to that beat at that particular moment. Other times, I've sat there and listened to Stairway to Heaven or something. I don't know how many times I can listen to that song and find something new or find some deeper meaning to what's going on. So I think whether you're watching Madison Olds, Matt Stanley, or somebody up on a stage, and you're in the intimate audience just listening to the craft that they're creating, I think that's a gift. And it's something that you can really connect with. So I always say guitars save lives. Not literally, they're not going to give you CPR, but they mentally really help. Whether you're a hockey player and a bruiser on the hockey team, you need to calm down afterwards. Guitar is a great thing.
What is it about Kamloops that seems to really create so many musicians?
Kamloops has a long history of having amazing musicians, amazing players from the 60s with the hip clip, if you remember that, where Bill Felick had the downtown core cordoned off, and they charged people to cut their hair, and they made national news while they were raising funds for an amputee that needed a prosthetic leg. To the hip hop scene that we had in the 90s here in Kamloops, to even guys like, his face, he taught me keyboard at my parents' music store. So far gone. He plays for Emerson Drive. He's a keyboard player. Dale Wallace. I think that Kamloops is supportive of the arts, of the music, and I think people in Kamloops have a drive to play music and to share music, and I think that's what it takes.
Are kids still playing music?
That's the golden question, isn't it? We run our lesson school. Our lesson school, we have lots of kids coming in. I think 5 years ago, I would have said it was declining. Now, I think it's really, we're getting a lot of kids, a lot of young girls playing guitar. We had an 8-year-old girl today getting a skull strap locks for her electric guitar, So I think it's on its way back up. Everything has cycles. And maybe during the pandemic, we know that music always sees an increase when people are either depressed or alone and need something to turn to. And I think we saw a big boom with acoustic guitars. And I think that's bleeding off into maybe those kids that grew up with people playing the guitar to them around the Christmas tree, and now they're starting to play themselves.
So, Mike, I want you to go back there in the...
Is this our Wayne's World moment?
Exactly. Watching your younger self there, just exploring all this music gear and stuff like that, and all the guitars and drums. And what advice are you going to give that young fellow to
I feel like I've followed my path, and every wrong turn I made led me to learn something to get me back. And I feel like right now, all of those paths that I took are culminating into the right place and the right time. I'd try to be a little inspirational to my younger self, I think, and try to tell myself maybe learn a little more music or practice a little more would probably be a good thing. You know what? I would tell my younger self to pay more attention in geography because you're going to need it.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Mike, for coming out and showing us your guitars and for being such a positive and exciting member of the Kamloops community. And thank you very much for joining us at Conversations at the Effie.
Yeah, thanks for having me.